Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. The people of Gaza are experiencing Ramadan right now, but with no mosque to go to and no food to eat to start their fast or break their fast, it's a very difficult for Ramadan. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
I want to talk to you about the situation that people in Gaza are going through right now, Dr. Shabir. We are enjoying our Ramadan here. You know, there's so much ample food. You know, we go to the mosque to pray. We see our loved ones, every day or every other day. And there are all those celebrations and parties that people have. But the people in Gaza don't have that for Ramadan.
Yeah, and typically in the mosques here, we would pray for the people who, you know, we figure were here with us last Ramadan. They're not with us this year. People have passed away in the meantime. But in such prayers, we generally mean the few people who have passed away. Here we're talking about thousands who have been killed in Gaza, like 30,000, 2/3 of them being women and children.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Yes.
And yeah, we gather around our iftar tables, dinner at the end of the day of our fasting. And then by contrast, we see images coming out of Gaza of people sitting on rubble where their houses once stood. The only silver lining in that is that, you know, these images do portray some people having something to eat. But then in contrast with that, we have, images of women going to the hospitals with their children. Children are dying. People are dying of hunger. And the food drops. The food drops is another story altogether. It's like throwing bones to the dogs. Mm-hmm. People running after the food. The dignity of the Gazans have been totally stripped. And the BBC is doing a documentary, an investigation, looking at the actions of the Israeli armed forces at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunus about a month ago. And they're showing that, images which we had seen before of men stripped naked and stooping down under, the threat of Israeli guns. But this time it is medics, doctors from that hospital who were rounded up like this, some 45 of them. A nurse was shot, according to the BBC investigation. A nurse was shot while she was in the surgery room. She was shot from a distance. With all of these images coming from out of Gaza, it makes it even difficult for us to enjoy our Ramadan here. And we can only imagine how difficult it is for people there in Gaza.
It does feel very heavy this Ramadan for us here, Dr. Shabir. And when I speak to our family in Gaza, I hear terrible stories. Like they're telling me they're just in tents, right? And they're trying to do whatever they can in the tent because there's nowhere else to go and they don't have any family around, right? And then the people in the north, we have family in the north. We don't even know if they have any food, either to start or break their fast. So it's a very difficult circumstance for them. We can only pray for them.
Yes, some of the reports done by some British news channels show that even some humanitarian aid workers are there, and they're resorting to eating animal food. And, children are starting to drink from puddles. There's just, not enough food, not enough clean water. And the sadness of this is spilling over into the rest of the world, starting with the rest of Palestine. In Jerusalem, where people wanted to, enjoy Ramadan in solidarity with the people of Gaza, they are naturally toning down their festivities. So all of the fawanis, the lamps that are characteristic of Ramadan decorations in that region, there's no sign of that now. Because the festive spirit of Ramadan has just been killed.
Mm-hmm. And we thought, all the rockets and the bombings and the killings of people would have ended by now. So at least people would be in a situation of peace. We hoped that it would end before Ramadan, but it hasn't, unfortunately. So yes. People are afraid as well that they could be killed at any moment.
Yes, and even if there is no permanent ceasefire, at least Israel could say, look, it's your sacred month. Okay, regardless whatever beef they have with Hamas, they can't be imposing a collective punishment on the people. And this is really collective punishment. Like, how else do you describe this except to say that it is a collective punishment? And how it is that so many countries are cooperating to drop food. Okay, we've already seen that this is not the ideal situation to drop food. But the fact that they're dropping food, like, to me, that conveys the image of you have a power who has captured some people, and those people do not have their freedom to go and find food, and they do not have enough food, and the captor is not feeding the captives. And others, out of humanitarian compassion, are finding a roundabout way to get around that power to go and feed the people. So this is exactly what is happening here.
Except those others are not innocent actors; they're complicit in.
Yes, exactly. Because on the one hand, they're supplying food in this meager way, but on the other hand, they are also still supporting Israel's activities, so war activities. And even not more than just by word of mouth, they are by words. They are supplying weapons and financial aid and so on. Even Canada, in expressing its concerns, we can see where the concerns are. Okay, yes, Canada is part of that food drop program, but other things that Canada is doing, puts a question mark on like, how sincere are we in looking after the rights of those oppressed people, defending them, protecting them, defending not only their honor, but just their basic right to food and water and medical facilities. Much more has to be done. And we cannot blame only the Canada and the rest of the Western countries. We have to ask, where are our brothers and sisters in faith? Where are the leaders of the Muslim world? Like, where is Egypt? Where is Saudi Arabia? Where are the other countries? What are they doing to impose sanctions, to call things for what they are, and insist that things have to be made right? So yes, even if there is no permanent ceasefire now, because the hostages are held on the other side, and some things have to be worked out, at least out of a humanitarian concern, we could say, okay, let there be a pause just for the month of Ramadan, and then we will continue to negotiate after that to get our hostages back. But there seems to be very little humanitarian concern on the part of Israel for the people of Gaza, and that has been from the very inception. And nothing has changed. The ICJ has ruled that Israel was to report back within a month as to what measures they're taking to protect civilians. And then the news of that just fizzed out. We don't hear anything. Like, where's that report? In fact, soon after the ICJ ruling, Israel had continued its campaign, which continued to result in hundreds of deaths of Gazans almost on a daily basis. And that continues to this day. Like, what difference does the ICJ ruling make on the ground? Like, where are the world powers saying, okay, since the ICJ has ruled this, that means we are on high moral ground to step in and enforce the protection of the people of Gaza? So we are still in the dire situation, and all of that puts a wet blanket on Ramadan for us and for the people, for the Muslims everywhere.
Yeah, my husband and I wake up every morning not sure if somebody might have passed away at night due to starvation, and it's a terrible feeling.
Yes, so if it's not the bombing, it's not the firing, it's the starvation, and of course so many other things, diseases, stress, and so on that are taking the lives of people. We just continue to pray for the people of Gaza.
And do whatever we can, Dr. Shabir.
Yes, exactly.
Check it out, everyone, our brand new studio space. It's a work in progress, and it's all thanks to your support and love. This Ramadan, help us raise $100,000. This will help us develop the studio further and buy the equipment we need to develop more programs like this one. Visit our website, muslimmediahub.com.